Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Here I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, January 14th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Well, it's been a very busy day, and it's been a lot more information that's been coming out about the domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th. We also saw that Joe Biden unveiled his $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, which includes a $1,400 stimulus check. We see more people are being arrested behind that domestic terrorist attack, and some of them are so surprised that they're being arrested. Imagine that. I told you. That's like the epitome of white privilege. I told you. We see more footage has been coming out, and then also, on our show yesterday, on our Wednesday show, we talked about the day before the attack, January 16th, how there were January 5th, I should say, there were tours of the U.S. Capitol building given to various groups of people, which was extremely unusual because the U.S. Capitol building has been closed basically to the public since March of 2020 because of coronavirus. So there haven't been any tours largely taking place. Okay, so we talked about. We talked about this information yesterday, and there's more information coming out regarding that as well. We're going to talk about that because it appears that people on the outside had help from people on the inside. Okay. All right. So, but now I posted an article today from ProPublica. It's a big story from ProPublica, which deals with African-American police officers, Capitol Hill police officers, African-American Capitol Hill police officers. And the name of the article is No One Took Us Seriously. No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol police officers for years. No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol police officers for years. So we're going to talk some about that story. A lot of people have been talking about it. I shared it on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. It got over 5,000 likes and hundreds of comments. Then also Washington Post broke a story today. Dozens of people on the FBI terrorist watch list came to Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021, the day of the Capitol riot. Okay, this is a big story from the Washington Post that we'll talk about, and it deals with a breakdown in sharing of this information and who's on these terrorist lists, who's on the watch list, etc. Dozens of people on a terrorist watch list were in Washington, D.C. for the pro-Trump events January 6th, a day that ended in a chaotic crime rampage when a violent mob stormed the U.S. Capitol, according to people familiar with evidence gathered in the FBI's investigation. The majority of the watch list individuals, the majority of the watch listed individuals in Washington, D.C. that day are suspected white supremacists whose past conduct so alarmed investigators that their names had been previously entered into the National Terrorist Screening Database. Okay, we'll talk about that. So there's a lot of white supremacists who are on this list. Imagine that. Imagine that. Now, what I find very interesting is some of these very same Republicans who just 2 weeks ago were talking about this nonsense, stop the steal, and the election is rigged and it's fraudulent and all this stuff. 2 weeks ago, they weren't talking about unity. They weren't talking about can't we all just get along. But after they got busted, after this insurrection blew up in their face, Now they want to get past accountability. Now they want to get past law and order because they're supposed to be the party of law and order. Now they want to get past that. Now they want to go to, let's unite and let's come together. Well, where was all that when you were trying to overturn the votes of African Americans because you didn't like how we voted? What was all that unity and can't we all just get along? What was all that 2 weeks ago? This is the chickens coming home to roost. This is what this is. This is the chickens coming home to roost. So you got to run that nonsense on somebody else. All right. Now, also, House Democrats are demanding answers on suspicious Capitol Hill tours prior to the deadly insurrection. Then we see that former governor of Michigan, Pretty Ricky, Rick Snyder, he was arraigned today. Oh, there are going to be some memes that are going to pop up on social media about this. This is behind the Flint Water Crisis. We've been talking about that. Charges were filed, and there was an arraignment that took place. So we'll try to squeeze that in. We talked about that the past couple of days. So charges, WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit has a story dealing with that. Dealing with charges, actually, an arraignment that took place. Okay, so we'll discuss that as well. All right, and we'll also talk about some people celebrating birthdays today. All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts or a woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of their actions because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App, or through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. Okay. And at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. I want to jump into these stories here before the break. Also, the call-in numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, and how's it? And we're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. We got Comedic Warrior watching. How you doing, Comedic Warrior? We've got Sherwin, Sterling, Robert, just a few of the people watching. Okay, I want to go to this first story here. This is dealing with the Capitol Hill police officers. Okay, ProPublica has a big article today. It's about 7 pages. No one took us seriously. No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol police officers for years. Okay, allegations of racism against the Capitol police are nothing new. Allegations against the Capitol police are nothing new. Over 250 African-American police officers have sued the department since 2001. Let me repeat this. Over 250 African-American police officers have sued the Capitol Police, sued that department since 2001. Some of those former officers now say it's no surprise white nationalists were able to storm the building. Okay, so it's going to be interesting to see how Republican leadership responds to this article in response to these the allegations that are being made. So they talk about Kim Dine, D-I-N-E, and it says when Kim Dine took over as the new chief of the U.S. Capitol Police in 2012, he knew he had a serious problem. Since 2001, hundreds of African-American police officers had sued the department for racial discrimination. They alleged that white officers called African-American colleagues slurs like the N-word, and that one officer found a hangman's noose on his locker. White officers were called, I don't even know if I can say that on the air, but there's another, well, you read the article. Another thing they were called was friends of gangsters. If they were friendly with their African American colleagues. Now, African American officers faced unprovoked traffic stops. African American black officers faced unprovoked traffic stops from fellow Capitol police officers. One African American officer claimed he heard a colleague say, "Obama monkey, go back to Africa." In case after case, agency lawyers denied wrongdoing. In case after case, agency lawyers denied wrongdoing. But in an interview, Kim Dine said it was clear he had to address the department's charged racial climate. He said he promoted an African-American officer to assistant chief, a first for the agency, and tried to increase diversity by changing the force's hiring practices. He also said he hired an African-American woman to lead a diversity office and created a new disciplinary body within the department, promoting a black woman to lead it. He said Kim Dine, I'm sure if it's Dine or Dine, but Kim Dine, who left the agency in 2016, said, quote, "There is a problem with racism in this country in pretty much every establishment that exists. You can always do more in retrospect. Whether the Capitol Police managed to root out racist officers will be one of many issues raised as Congress investigates the agency's failure to prevent a mob of Trump supporters, largely white, and a lot of white supremacists there also, and many of them have been getting caught and arrested, etc. But failure to prevent a mob of Trump supporters from attacking the Capitol while lawmakers inside voted to formalize the electoral victory of President-elect Joe Biden. Okay, now we're going to continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. We're on commercial break. Stand by to get ready for this next segment. How's everybody doing? This is deep. More and more information is coming out. More damaging evidence is coming out. And then you had the representative who was on the Rachel Maddow show last night, who was talking about this as well, Representative Mikey Sherrill, who was talking about the tours that were taking place the day before the insurrection. Stand by. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here.
When loving you is
Stand by.
me, getting heated. It ain't getting heated here. This is what we're going to be doing. This is good dialogue. We are 910 AM Superstation.
Are you getting the most out of your Medicare plan? Are you sure? Many people with Medicare are eligible for plans that include extra benefits in addition to those found in original Medicare. Benefits like dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
How's everybody doing? We'll be back from break in a couple minutes here.
The consultation is free with no obligation to enroll. In addition to hospital and medical coverage, at no extra cost, you could also get coverage for prescription drugs.
Stand by. We should be back in 1 minute.
Vision and more. In many areas, plans with benefits are available with $0 copays for many services, $0 monthly premiums, or $0 deductibles. That's hospital, medical, prescription drug, dental coverage, and more included in one plan with premiums that may be as low as $0 a month. Call now to see if you're eligible to enroll. The consultation is free and there's no obligation to enroll. Call 1-800-571-8580. That's 1-800-571-8580.
Attention. In July 2018, Bayer announced that it will be halting its sales of Assure. The Assure birth control may break or...
All right. Let's see who we have here. We got Christy, Carla, Ronnie, AJ Wick, Saul, Robert. Okay. Greg Osborne. What's up, Greg? You all right? Okay. We should be back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation and Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, January 14th, 2021, and we are live. Okay, and we're dealing with some more developments in the insurrection that took place January 6th, 2021. More information is coming out, more evidence is coming out. There was right before the break, we were talking about a big story from ProPublica.org that came out January 14th. We posted this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. It got over 5,000 likes. No one took us seriously. This deals with the insurrection. No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol police officers for years. Black cops warned about racist Capitol police officers for years. Okay, and they were largely ignored. There were about 250 African American police officers who filed lawsuits over the years. Let's see, allegations of racism against Capitol Police are nothing new. Over 250 African American police officers have sued the department since 2001. Some of those former officers now say it's no surprise white nationalists were able to storm the building. Why not? Because there's some people who were sympathetic to their cause. You know, now, a few days ago, we talked about the story from BuzzFeed, and we'll go to the phone lines here in just a minute. A few days ago, we talked about the story from BuzzFeed News. The story from BuzzFeed News was these Black Capitol police officers described fighting off, quote unquote, racist ass terrorists. Two Black officers told BuzzFeed News that their chief and other upper management left them totally unprepared and were nowhere to be found on the day. This is from January 9th, 2021, written by Emmanuel Felton for BuzzFeed News. So check out that article. We'll post the link as well. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to this article here. So, in case after case, agency lawyers denied wrongdoing, but in an interview, Kim Dine, the former chief of the Capitol Police, who became chief in 2012 and left the organization in 2016. In an interview, he said it was clear he had to address the department's charged racial climate. He said he promoted a Black officer to assistant chief, a first for the agency, and tried to increase diversity by changing the force's hiring practices. He also said he hired an African-American woman to lead a diversity office, to lead a diversity, to increase diversity by changing the force's hiring practices. He also said he hired an African-American woman to lead a diversity office and created a new disciplinary body within the department, promoting an African-American woman to lead it. Now, whether the Capitol Police managed to root out racist officers will be one of many issues raised as Congress investigates the agency's failure to prevent a mob of Trump supporters from attacking the Capitol, while lawmakers inside voted to formalize the electoral victory of President-elect Joe Biden, which is the joint session of Congress, the joint session of the legislative body, the U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, to certify the electoral college votes from all 50 states, is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. That's the 12th Amendment. Already, officials have suspended several police officers for possible complicity with insurrectionists, one of whom was pictured waving a Confederate battle flag as he occupied the building. Okay, now you had one genius who was, they're talking about this genius right here. Yeah, this genius got caught. All right, the one that was inside the Capitol building with the Confederate battle flag of Northern Virginia. Oh, they arrested him. They got him and his son. You know, I guess a family that hates together goes to prison together. You know, so we'll talk about that. I saw in the Washington Post about that. So he got caught today, and retired firefighter accused of attacking police, man carrying Confederate flag, charged in Capitol riots. The manhunt for key figures in last week's siege on the U.S. Capitol building led to more arrests Thursday, January 14th, including 2 men accused of attacking police officers. 2 witnesses to the shooting, of a rioter and a man photographed carrying a Confederate flag into the building. Charging papers added to a picture of chaos, violence, and mayhem on January 6th as federal authorities in D.C. moved from arresting people who identified themselves willingly on social media to more elusive and allegedly dangerous figures from the riot. Several said they came to Washington to rally with President Donald Trump, and then, quote, went crazy, end quote, when Vice President Mike Pence announced that he would not agree to block the certification of Trump's defeat. Okay, several said they came to Washington to rally with Trump, but then they went crazy when Vice President Mike Pence followed the U.S. Constitution and said that he would not agree to block certification of Trump's defeat. Well, he didn't have the authority to block certification of Trump's defeat. This is what happens when you follow a traitorous demagogue who is a threat to the U.S. Constitution and you don't understand the U.S. Constitution. That process, like I said before, is ceremonial. Pence had no more authority to throw out electoral college votes than Joe Biden had in 2016 to throw out the electoral college votes in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. So Hillary Clinton would win the 2016 presidential election, and she got 3 million more popular votes than Donald Trump. Mike Pence had no more authority to throw out electoral college votes than Vice President Al Gore had in 2021, January 2021, 2001, to throw out the electoral college votes from Florida. So he would have won, okay, as opposed to George W. Bush. So one, this is what happens when you follow a traitor who's a liar and a con man. 2, this is what happens when you don't understand the U.S. Constitution. Just nonsense. That was 2017, January 2017, with the certification of the electoral college votes that Joe Biden presided over as vice president. All right, let's go to the phone lines quickly. We have Maurice, line 1. Maurice, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Maurice. Do we have Maurice on the line?
Oh, hello, Brother Michael. Maurice calling from Chicago, Illinois.
Hey, Chicago. What's up, man? You all right?
Oh, yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Chicago was the last place I traveled to before coronavirus. What'd you say?
Oh, man, brother, we need you. We need you to come back. We need you.
Oh, this stuff got to blow over, man. I was saying there may be a delay here. I was saying Chicago was the last place I traveled to before coronavirus got bad. I was in Chicago early. It was like February 3rd, 2020, for an African American History Month celebration that the Black Mall was doing, Cassiopeia and the Black Mall. Yeah, that's the last place. That's the last time I went out of town, brother. But go ahead. Go ahead.
And I missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Brother Michael, first I want to say, Hotep to you, peace and blessings.
Hey, brother, Imhotep.
Yes. So what's going on? I just want to piggyback on when you were talking about the racism in the ranks,
Mm-hmm.
the ranks in the within the police. I actually experienced that. I was training to be a security guard at the not training to be a security guard at the Chicago Police Academy, but I was training at the Chicago Police Academy in order to become a security guard for the airports.
Okay.
And brother, let me tell you, to you, to all of your listeners and your audience, I never experienced that and such an abhorrent, such a disgusting and distasteful, disdainful level of racism in my life. And you can see, I actually saw and experienced the racism amongst the ranks. And I'll just give you a prime illustration, not to hold this out too long.
Okay.
But it was one particular case where we were training at this one facility to do pursuits in the vehicles. And we were sitting in class, just talking. It's about 25 people in the class, only 3 blacks. The rest of them are white, maybe a few Latinos, but predominantly white. So these 2 African-American men came in and they were talking to the class commander. And the 2 African-American men had locks.
Okay.
Brother, do you know that everybody in the class, except for the African-Americans, everyone in the class stood staring at them the whole time and giving them dirty looks while we were sitting in this class. And then one of the other African-Americans cadets in the class was like, oh, wow, so the brothers with the locks, are they just trouble or something like that? Are they troublesome? Do they symbolize trouble, negativity, or something like that? So, and I'm just paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something to that effect. And being in that academy, man, I was like, I never experienced this type of racism. They were just very. When I was going to the gun range, we training at the range. I was a little late because one of the commanding officers needed me to do something with my pistol belt, and I was running a little late. And as soon as I come into the range, and I'm just grabbing my target. These 2 white cops sat on the side and said, oh, yeah, it's always the blacks. Always the blacks. Yeah, they're always late. Yeah, we'll lose the war because of the blacks. I looked over at them, and they looked at me, and I was like, I'm like, I didn't say anything because I knew if I say something, I could, take some type of punishment.
Right.
I'm like, what the heck? I'm not going to curse on your show. What the heck is going on here, guys?
Right.
And so what I'm saying is ultimately is the racism amongst the Ku Klux Klan is real, man. It is terrible. It's disgusting.
So what?
And so these guys in the
go ahead.
Police, if they're saying they experienced racism and they warn them, yeah, I believe them.
Right. So what do you think should? What do you think?
Amongst the police ranks, amongst the Ku Klux Klan is.
Go ahead and finish that sentence. The Ku Klux Klan. What?
Brother Mike, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, I was saying the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, I can hear you now. We're going in and out. I can hear you now.
Okay. So finish that last sentence. You said something about the Ku Klux Klan. What were you saying? Maurice, can you hear me?
No, I was just saying that the racism amongst the ranks. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. The racism amongst the ranks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying the racism amongst the Ku Klux Klan. Right, amongst the Ku Klux Klan is real, man, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely distasteful, and when these cops get out into the streets, since they're bringing that type of mindset from the police academy and all the stuff they teach you, they're dropping it right off into it's like a baggage.
Right.
Like a
so
baggage is filled with all these, preconceived ideals, racism.
Right. So let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you a question for the sake of time here. So was this was in Chicago? I think you said was this in Chicago?
Yeah, it was in Chicago.
Okay, yeah. So what do you think what do you think should happen? What do you think of the solutions? Yeah, what do you think of solutions that should happen with various police departments like that that have pervasive racism. Some departments do a better job than others. There are approximately 18,500 police departments across the country. What do you think are some solutions that should be implemented?
One of the solutions that should be implemented is I think they need to bring people on. They really need to implement some type of stronger filtering process. So that means maybe bringing more people who are educated, but then at the same time, that doesn't mean anything either, because if you're educated and a racist, that just means you're an educated racist.
Now, when you say educated, you mean,
really don't know.
when you say educated, let me ask you quick. Can you hear me? When you say educated, so some suggestions from police reformists are to hire people who have a 4-year college degree. Don't hire people that don't have a 4-year college degree or something like that, and hire people who are 21 years or older as opposed to 18 years or older. So when you say educated, you mean having a college degree, or what do you mean by educated?
Okay, what I mean by educated, Brother Michael Imhotep, is I think people need to come in with a certain level of education, maybe a 4-year degree. But the thing about it is that can backfire too, because just because you're educated is not going to take instability out of you. That means you're just coming in as if you're a racist already, it means you're going to come in as an educated racist. See,
yeah, that can be one threshold. That can be one criteria. That could be one criteria. Go ahead and finish your thought, and then I gotta get these other calls.
Yeah, but yes, sir. And just that the police system is so polluted because it goes back, and you know this, in your audience know this too. The police is the offspring of the slave patrol, and so I mean it's so
that's one of the influences
with racism and prejudice. I mean, it's going to take a lot to filter. Right. It's going to take a lot to filter that out of that, you know what I'm saying, of that notorious legacy that is carrying on.
Right.
So the police is just a derivative of the slave patrols, you know.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of the influence. That's one of the influences.
I don't really have like a concrete solution.
Right. Okay, Maurice. Thanks for calling. Keep listening. All right. 313. Okay. Thanks for calling. Keep listening.
All right, God bless you, brother.
All right. Peace. All right. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. And for some of these phone lines or connections, that may be a delay or something, because I'm calling into the radio station through Skype, and then we have callers calling in, because I'm not. If I was probably at the radio station, it'd be a better connection. Let me go back to this here, and let me know if you have any more callers, Shakita. I want to go back to this article here from ProPublica, and then we're going to hit these other topics as well. Once again, this name of the article from ProPublica is. Let me flip back over to it here. Name of the article from ProPublica is "No One Took Us Seriously. Black Cops Warned About Racist Capitol Police Officers for Years." No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol Police officers for years. Okay. And, I've said before, so the police union culture and the culture in policing has to change. But I've said before, at the end of the day, many of us are going to have to apply to the police departments and become the type of officers that we say we want to see, to fight from this. That you can have activists from the outside fighting things like this, but you got to have people from the inside fighting as well. And we need more African-American officers who want to do the right thing, be the type of officers we say we want to see. Because the reason why I say that is because as they go through these various police departments and root out white supremacist officers, those who belong to white supremacist organizations, those who get busted for social media posts and things like this, right? As they root them out, who do they replace them with? Do they replace them with more white supremacists? The officers we say we want to see, where do they come from? Do they bring them in from white suburbs into African-American communities? Where are they going to come from? So at the end of the day, many of us are going to have to apply to the police departments to be the type of officers we say we want to see, not those that inflict police brutality on our people and things like that. Not the ones who do all the things we complain about, but the type of officers we say we want to see. Where they're going to come from? All right, that's another conversation. Okay, so I was talking about the one from Washington Post because the guy with the Confederate battle flag in the U.S. Capitol building, they called him. Washington Post is an article about this retired firefighter accused of attacking police, man carrying Confederate battle flag, charged in Capitol riot. So they talked about a few different people in here who were caught. The one with the Confederate battle flag, let's see here. One of the men arrested Thursday, Peter Francis Stager, Stager, 41 of Conway, Arkansas, is accused of using the American flag to beat a DC police officer who arrived late in the afternoon to support Capitol Police. Where the Blue Lives Matter people? I'm still waiting on Blue Lives Matter to hold a press conference to denounce this behavior. They're beating police officers. One police officer died because of being bludgeoned with a fire extinguisher. You had numerous police officers injured. Where the Blue Lives Matter? All the people, we love the police, support the police, don't defund the police. Where are they? I haven't heard from them. Video from the scene shows the officer being dragged down the steps as he is attacked by the crowd. According to an affidavit, Peter Francis Stager, or Stagger, he probably is staggering. When he goes to prison, he's going to be staggering. But 41 years old, was identified by two informants who saw video of him at the Capitol, including one clip in which he declared, quote, "Everybody in there is a treasonous traitor. Death is the only." Well, okay, he's talking about calling for deaf people, whatever, dumbass. Some of these people really need to learn how to read the U.S. Constitution before they talk about treasonous traitors, because that's who sent you there. It was a traitor who sent you to the U.S. Capitol building. He said he would be there with you. He went to the White House and watched it on TV. And your dumb ass got arrested. Listen to a fool. He told one informant that he did not realize the man he attacked was a police officer, instead believed him to be Antifa or anti-fascist activist. Oh, I know it's a cop. I thought I was beating somebody with Antifa. Yeah, okay. The agent who wrote the affidavit said after watching videos of the attack that Stager, quote, was able to clearly see the police markings on BM's uniform and was aware that the individual who he was striking was in fact law enforcement, end quote. Let's see here. Another of the men arrested Thursday is himself a former public safety official, Robert Lee Sanford Jr., 55 years old, a recently retired firefighter from Chester, Pennsylvania, threw a fire extinguisher at members of the Capitol Police, according to law enforcement. The extinguisher incident connected to Sanford was captured in two widely distributed videos of the scene outside the U.S. Capitol at the Lower West Terrace. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who died as a result of injuries sustained in the riot, was hurt in a separate incident. Now, it was who was the genius with the flag? Let me see here. A father and son, Kevin and Hunter Seafried of Laurel, Delaware. They got these old little ass towns I never even heard of. Okay. Laurel, Delaware, turned themselves into law enforcement Thursday, January 14th, after likewise being identified by informants. In this case, a colleague of the younger man. Authorities say Kevin Seafried admitted carrying a large Confederate flag to the Capitol, saying he usually keeps it outside his home in the first state to join the Union. Where they get these fools from? These are the type of dumbasses following Trump. This is what I warned people about 2016. This is why I said we can't let Trump become president. People said, oh, we just need to build businesses and do economic empowerment, invest in the stock market, do like the Asians. Said Asians do vote. You do realize this, right? We have to understand self-preservation. You can't let a demagogue like Trump get in office. These are the type of people he organizes and riles up. These are the type of people he incites and legitimatizes. Now, Hunter Seyfried is accused of helping clear a broken Senate building window through which a helmeted group climbed into the Capitol about 2:13 p.m., making them among the first to enter the building. Okay, this is the genius there with the Confederate battle flag of Northern Virginia, the flag of the traitors. And they were following a traitor who told them to go to the U.S. Capitol building. He said, "I'll be there with you," and he went to go watch it on TV. All right, let's go back to the phone lines quickly here. Let's go to I think this is Heru. Heru, line 1 or line 2.
Yes, brother Michael.
Hey,
Hotep.
Hey, Hotep, brother, how you doing? You're on the air. Tell us where you're calling from.
Brother Michael.
Yeah, tell us where you're calling from.
Yes, calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, Brooklyn.
Calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Go ahead.
I'm originally from Haiti.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can hear the accent. Okay.
I just wanted to, yeah, man. I just wanted to congratulate you on the work that you're doing.
Oh, thanks, man.
Because we need all these type of conversations when it comes to our community and how to build to move forward. I'm an ex-student of Dr. Jeffries, Leonard Jeffries.
Oh, that's one of my teachers, man. That's my man, Dr. J.
Somebody that I learned from a lot.
Yeah, that's one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. That's my man right there.
Yeah, man. Because I went to City College. I went to City College in Harlem.
Okay, so you know Professor James Small. You know Professor James Small.
African Studies with him. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's one of my teachers also, Professor James Small.
For a long time, so it's good to see, like, how you, have you used social media to help us to continue to have these conversations, to tackle these issues. Not everybody's gonna agree. It's not that I don't agree with what is being said. It's just that it's a different point of view. I always see things in a systemic basis point,
Right.
Because I don't really, as Brother Malcolm always said, I don't believe these white people in their sense and how they move forward. Even liberals, Democrats, because they will never be for us to move forward. It's just us that we have to always build with each other to see how we can, calculate and move forward with every aspect. And you were mentioning about the police system. And truthfully, until we can police ourselves, I don't see how anything is going to really be different. It's going to always be the same thing, because if we're not policing our own neighborhoods, then we always have this type of issues.
Well, police is not an either or. It's not an either. Hey, Ru, it's not an either or. Policing, community policing, and things like that, CB patrols, things like that. That's all good. I'm not against that at all. I'm for that. That when you we have brother Minister Malik Shabazz here in Detroit, who teaches about that and organize and has been involved in that, and that can reduce crimes in the communities up to 70%. So it's not an either or. That's needed. Community policing is needed. I'm not against that at all. Okay.
Oh no. When I mean community policing, I'm saying like to the general aspect of it. Even when it comes to their own police system, we need our own people to be patrolling our neighborhoods, and also to have our own system within the community to also police the police.
Yeah, that's needed also. Those are all different aspects of those are all different aspects of a solution. It's not just one thing. Those are all different aspects of a solution. Yeah, that's all needed. Yeah, that's all important. All right. Okay, man. This is only a 1 hour show, and I only got like about 4 minutes left.
That's one of the aspects.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, that's one of the aspects.
You,
yeah.
man. Listen,
Yeah, that's one of the aspects.
I got you, man. I have my own system. Yes, I have my own system. I will always promote you, and as we moving forward, to establishing ourselves and moving forward, to a better life system,
Right.
As a people.
Right. Okay.
Thank you for what you're doing. Again.
All right, man. You can call back in tomorrow night, man. We're here 6 nights a week. So, okay. All right, Heru. Yep.
All right.
Okay. So that's one aspect of it. This community policing, all that's important. It's not just one thing. But we need more African American officers to be the right type of officer, but also community policing in our community. All that's important. Okay, we got a few more minutes here. Let me switch gears here. Let me go to let me see. Shakita, we're gonna go to we're gonna squeeze in one of these clips here. We're gonna go to we're gonna go to clip 1. This is from the Rachel Maddow show. This is Representative Mikey Sherrill, Democrat from New Jersey, talking about the unusual tours in the U.S. Capitol building that took place the day before the insurrection. Let's go to this clip number 1. Do we have it? This is the email I sent you.
Helicopter pilot. I served for almost 10 years. And so at every duty station, whether it was in Norfolk or in Manama, Bahrain, and at every overseas place I was and I would enter as a military member, we would receive a security brief. And that security brief we would be told to look for things that were out of place, look for things that were odd, and look at them with an eye towards security. And so if somebody was loitering around my helicopter on the tarmac, that would be questionable to me, for example. And so I arrived in the Capitol the week of the 6th, and I was very concerned about the violent crowds, the violent extremist groups that were coming to the Capitol for the mob on the 6th, called there by the president. And I told my staff not to come in that day, to work remotely, not to be anywhere near the Hill. And I was really shocked when I got into the House office building and saw these groups inside. And what was so shocking is as you mentioned, visitors aren't allowed in the Capitol complex. Since March, since the start of COVID, that has been shut down. All tours are shut down. That was true in the last Congress and was reiterated on January 3rd in the new Congress that there would be no tours allowed, even tours given by members. And so the only reason you'd have a visitor is on official business. So to see these groups around the Capitol complex was really striking. And given what we know the next day of what happened, it's really shocking that those ties were made. And it was so odd to see them that my chief of staff called the sergeant at arms to say, what is going on? And he reiterated the only way these people could have gotten into the Capitol complex was with a member or that member's staff. And we now know that those violent groups that attacked the Capitol complex had inside knowledge of the Capitol grounds.
Do you know which members of Congress or which congressional staff members allowed these groups into the Capitol and were showing them around? I know that you haven't talked publicly about that yet, but do you know that information? Have you conveyed that information to, for example, the House Sergeant at Arms?
So, Rachel, as you showed, we have asked, and over 30 other members have asked for an investigation. That investigation has started and is now ongoing. So I'm not talking about exactly the people that I saw, but I will be conveying that to them. However, make no mistake, the only way that these people, these groups, could have gotten into the complex is if another member of Congress or their staff walked them in. And that was reiterated by the Sergeant at Arms on January 5th.
Okay, pause it right there, Shakita. Pause it right there. Okay. All right, we're out of time here. Those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting. We're out of, and I'm going to continue the rest of that clip. We're out of time here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF in Detroit. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App. And then also through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, and at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Remember, right now, let's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Stay tuned for Pastor Greg Davis. Peace. All right, stand by, everybody. We're going to keep broadcasting. We're on for the first hour on 910 because I do radio here in Detroit. I'm a radio talk show host here in Detroit. I've been on that radio station for 5 years. We do the first hour on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF in Detroit, and then we can, if we have anything else to say, we continue on our social media platforms. All right, so I'm going to continue. We're going to cue that clip up. We'll continue with this. We'll be here for a little while longer. I don't want this to be a 3-hour show. I got like 4 hours worth of information, but I only got a half hour worth of energy. So, I got like 3 or 4 hours worth of more information, but I only got about a half hour worth of energy. Okay. So we're going to be here for a little while longer, and that's going to be it because I got to be back here tomorrow night. All right. Let me pull up this clip. This is from the Rachel Maddow show. Now, this is what we were talking about yesterday. There was an article from political.com and also African American business owners. Post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast, and we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. There was an article from political.com that was from, I think it was yesterday. It was a big article. We talked about it on a Wednesday show. And it dealt with, it was Representative Mikey Sherrill, who you heard in the clip there. She was interviewed by Rachel Maddow on Wednesday. She was talking about what she called reconnaissance tours. And she has a military background, okay? So we're going to go back to that clip here. This up. And then we'll talk some more about the huge article from ProPublica. No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol Police officers for years. Okay, let's go back to this clip here from the Rachel Maddow show.
These people could have gotten into the happened. It's really shocking that those ties were made. And it was so odd to see them that my chief of staff called the sergeant at arms to say, what is going on? And he reiterated the only way these people could have gotten into the Capitol complex was with a member or that member's staff. And we now know that those violent groups that attacked the Capitol complex had inside knowledge of the Capitol grounds.
Do you know which members of Congress or which congressional staff members allowed these groups into the Capitol and were showing them around? I know that you haven't talked publicly about that yet, but do you know that information? Have you conveyed that information to, for example, the House Sergeant at Arms?
So, Rachel, as you showed, we have asked, and other members, over 30 other members have asked for an investigation. That investigation has started and is now ongoing. So I'm not talking about exactly the people that I saw, but I will be conveying that to them. However, make no mistake, the only way that these people, these groups could have gotten into the complex is if another member of Congress or their staff walked them in. And that was reiterated by the Sergeant at Arms on January 5th.
It is so disturbing to think about members of Congress facilitating the breaching of the Capitol building, facilitating an attack not just on the Capitol building, but on Congress. The attack was obviously timed to coincide with a joint session of Congress. Every member of House, every member of the Senate, they are at once doing the people's business, carrying out a constitutional responsibility. That attack was meant to menace the 400 some odd of you who hold this job. It's very disturbing to think that one of your colleagues could have facilitated it and helped the mob do what they did. If that possibility is borne out by the investigation that you're asking for, what's the right remedy? What's the right punishment for that?
Rachel, I was in the chamber as the violent mobs were attacking. I was flat on the ground as other members were calling loved ones because they thought that might be the last phone call they made. To imagine that colleagues of mine could have aided and abetted this is incredibly offensive, and there's simply no way that they can be allowed to continue to serve in Congress. To attack other members of Congress, to incite an attack on other members of Congress, and to do so as we're doing our constitutional duty to certify the election, something that every member of Congress should have really held sacred, an oath they took to the Constitution to perform that. They will have to be kicked out of Congress if that is found to be true.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, Democrat of New Jersey, U.S. Navy veteran. Thank you for your service both in Congress and in the military, and thanks for your time this evening.
Well, it's always an honor to serve, and thanks so much for having me, Rachel.
Okay, so that was from January 13th, 2021. That's from the Rachel Maddow show. Unusual tours in Capitol ahead of Trump mob attack prompts investigation. That was Representative Mikey Sherrill, Democrat from New Jersey, okay, that you heard being interviewed. And in yesterday's show, we talked about the article from ProPublica where she's interviewed. I mean, politico.com, where she's interviewed. And we'll pull up this. I'll pull this up here so you can see it. This is the article we talked about yesterday. Let's see. Dems demand details of suspicious Capitol visitors day before attack. Mikey Sherrill first raised alarms that some members of Congress may have provided reconnaissance tours to would-be insurrectionists. And then we see more video coming out of people who act like they really knew what they were doing and where they were going, what they were looking for. They're talking about floor plans, blueprints, things like this. There's one Roland Martin showed it on Roland Martin Filtered on Wednesday. There's this group breaking into an office, this woman outside the window on a megaphone directing them and talking about breaking the glass or something, and it takes you down to the floor below or something like that. So you had people who had some extensive knowledge of floor plans, where to go, how to coordinate, etc. Now, that doesn't mean all 8,000 people were involved in that, knew that. No, but you had certain groups of people who knew exactly what they were doing. You had some other people that just listened to dumbass Trump up there, and they said, "Oh, we're gonna go to the Capitol building and stop the steal and blah blah blah, all this stuff," and now they're getting arrested too. Mm-hmm. All right, tried to tell you, dumbass. All right, so let's go back to the ProPublica article here. So the Capitol Police did not immediately respond to questions for this story from ProPublica. Imagine that. And I'll show you that article also here. We'll turn on the screen share. Okay, we've got this one. No one took us seriously. No one took us seriously. Black cops warned about racist Capitol Police officers for years. No one took us seriously. I wonder why they didn't take them seriously. So read this article from ProPublica.org. All right. I want to go back to that article. Okay, so whether the Capitol Police managed to root out racist officers will be one of many issues raised as Congress investigates the agency's failure to prevent a mob of Trump supporters from attacking the Capitol, while lawmakers inside voted to formalize the electoral victory of President-elect Joe Biden, who now for some people who never read the U.S. Constitution, because probably they can't read, and they say, oh, Trump is still president. Well, he's president until noon, January 20th, 2021. That's based upon the U.S. Constitution. You should read it sometime. Now, already officials have suspended several police officers for possible complicity with insurrectionists. Possible complicity with insurrectionists, one of whom was pictured waving a Confederate battle flag as he occupied the building. So he, Seyfried, he and his son turned themselves in to the authorities because they knew they were coming for them anyway. So you might as well make it easy on yourself and turn yourself in. Kevin and Hunter Seyfried, father and son of Laurel, Delaware. Okay. So already officials have suspended several police officers for possible complicity with insurrectionists, one of whom was pictured waving a Confederate battle flag as he occupied the building. One cop was captured on tape seeming to take selfies with protesters, while another allegedly wore a red Make America Great Again hat as he directed protesters around the Capitol building, while many officers were filmed fighting off rioters. At least 12 others are under investigation for possibly assisting them. All right. Now, two current, and we'll turn on the screen share here. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. And that helps us. We're here 6 nights a week, so that helps us stay on the air, keep broadcasting, keep doing the research. Let me turn on the screen share here. Let's go back to this article. Let me blow this up so you can really see this. All right, so 2 current Black Capitol police officers told BuzzFeed News that they were angered by leadership failures. That they said put them at risk as racist members of the mob stormed the building. The Capitol Police Force is only 29% African American in a city that's 46% African American. By contrast, as of 2018, 52% of Washington Metropolitan Police officers were African American. So they're in DC, but the Capitol Police is a separate police force from DC Metropolitan Police. The Capitol Police Force is only 29% African American in a city that is 46% African American. As of 2018, 52% of Washington Metropolitan Police officers were African American. Okay. So the Capitol Police are comparable to the Metropolitan Force in spending, employing more than 2,300 people and boasting an annual budget of about $500 million, $500 million. The Capitol Police did not immediately respond to questions for this story. I wonder why. Did it, I would think you want to get out, and you wouldn't want the police department to be tainted. So you want to get out and put a statement out. That's what I would think. That's what, when I took public relations, and because my background's in marketing and business administration. So we had to take public relations as part of for marketing majors at Wayne State's business school. So you got a big story like this coming out from ProPublica, and it's going to be picked up by CNN and MSNBC. They talked about this story on MSNBC today. You don't let this go out and you don't have a statement to go out in the story. No, you got to get out ahead of this. I learned that back in 94? And that was before social media existed. You can't, after what happened January 6th, and then after the BuzzFeed story that came out January 9th, let me help y'all out here. After what took place January 6th, that insurrection has been seen all around the world. One. Two, the story that came out January 9th, 2021, that we talked about today and a few days ago from BuzzFeed News, these black Capitol police officers described fighting off racist ass terrorists. ProPublica does this extensive, this is like a 7-page story from ProPublica. And they contact the U.S. Capitol Police for a statement. And you don't have one. And this story is going out. No, that's that's a huge mistake. That makes it seem like, you know, that's a huge mistake. That makes it seem like you either have something to hide or no. Now, Sharon Blackman Malley, a former Capitol Police officer who was the lead plaintiff in the 2001 discrimination lawsuit filed against the department, says she was not surprised that pro-Trump rioters burst into the Capitol last week. Said no, I've been trying to tell y'all. And see, this is a theme that's been taking place the past couple of days. Listen to black people. Y'all need to listen to African Americans. We've been telling you about these people for years. You didn't want to listen to us. Okay? You need to listen to us. Sharon Blackman Malloy, a former Capitol Police officer who was the lead plaintiff in the 2001 discrimination lawsuit filed against the department, said she was not surprised that pro-Trump rioters burst into the Capitol last week. In her 25 years with the Capitol Police, Blackman Malloy spent decades trying to raise the alarm about what she saw as endemic racism within the force. Let me highlight this here. I want everybody to make sure they see this here. All right, we're going to blow this up here, all right? Because this sister been trying to tell you all, and you all just act like boo-boo the fool. Let's see here. Okay, in her 25 years with the Capitol Police, Sharon Blackman Malloy spent decades trying to raise the alarm about what she saw as endemic racism within the force, even organizing demonstrations where black officers would return to the Capitol off duty, protesting outside the building they usually protect. Now, most of this stuff here, these protests and things like this, African-American police officers protesting, most of this stuff, I don't remember hearing about. Maybe you remember hearing about it. Maybe if you live in DC, you heard about it. But a lot of times, the fights that African-American police officers have within the departments, we don't know about outside. We don't know about in the general public, unless maybe somebody leaks it to the media or something. And even then, when it happens, usually it's just a local story. It doesn't become a national story. Okay? Because I hear people all the time, oh, black officers need to say some things like this. Many of them do. But it's not, it doesn't get to the media. And if it does, it's usually just a local story, not a national story. There was one, I remember I posted an article in 2020, and it was about a African-American female police officer in Buffalo, New York. And we'll let's see, like this one here. I remember posting this article. It was about this story. It wasn't this exact article, but it's about the same story. This is about an African-American female police officer who jumped on a white officer for trying to choke an African-American suspect. Okay, let me pull this up. What is this? Hold on. Okay, a black officer Let me turn this on here. And why can't we see that? A black officer stepped in when a white cop had a suspect in a chokehold. She was fired and the city wants an investigation. Now, this article is from June 16th, 2020. This, goddamn it, this is from CNN, okay? And why won't this collapse so I can show you all the article? Yeah, get that. See, that's why I don't like these damn articles from CNN. People ask why you see. I don't show articles from CNN a lot because of bullshit like this. This thing keeps flipping around. I ain't got time for this. That's why I use NBC News, because they don't do that. That's why I don't use ABC News a lot, because it's when you try to like show stuff, people stuff, I can't deal with that flipping up and down like that. A black. Hold on, I ain't got time for this. Let me pull up an article from a different source. Just a second here. Let's go to this is the one I showed. Let's go to NBC News. This is the actual article that I posted. Buffalo officials ask state to probe firing a black officer who stopped white colleagues' chokehold. Now, with so much attention being on the present and what some officers have done negatively, it is very difficult for some people to move forward if we have not repaired the past, end quote, the city council president said. Okay, so this was this sister back when she was a police officer, Carol Holman Horn. Carol Holman Horn, all right? And when was this incident took place in 2006. The article came out in 2020. That's 14 years later. The city council in Buffalo, New York voted this week to call on State Attorney General Letitia James to investigate the 2008 firing of African-American female officer Carriel Horn, who stopped a white colleague from choking a suspect while making an arrest. The incident occurred in 2006, and Ms. Horn was fired 2 years later because the Buffalo Police Department claimed Ms. Horn had put her fellow officers at risk, including the white officer Gregory Kwiatkowski, whom she stopped after he put the suspect in a chokehold. Buffalo, New York is now asking the state to look into the reasons why Ms. Horn was fired. Okay, now President Darius Pridgen of the Buffalo Common Council told the local NBC News affiliate WGRZ, quote, now with so much attention being on the present and what some officers have done negatively, it is very difficult for some people to move forward if we have not repaired the past. Now, the New York Attorney General's office declined to comment on Buffalo's request. The Buffalo Department and Horn could not be immediately reached to address the case. Ms. Horn was a 19-year veteran when she was fired in the year 2008, and she was 1 year short of receiving her pension. She has since become an activist who speaks on police brutality and has attempted to pass a law in New York that will protect officers who attempt to stop acts of excessive force by their fellow officers. Okay, now this incident took place in 2006. All right, and then she was fired in 2008. But most people outside of Buffalo, New York, maybe the state of New York, I don't know if there's big news back in the state of New York. Okay, I don't remember hearing about this back in 2006, 2008. This story came out in 2020. Now, I posted this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. It got thousands of likes. But this is an example of what I'm talking about. You have many African-American officers who are fighting these battles inside the police department, but it doesn't get national news. It may or may not get local news. Most of that don't even get local news. It stays inside the police department. Okay. So check out this article here from NBC News. Buffalo officials ask state, and we'll turn the screen share back on so you can see the name of the article as well. Buffalo officials ask state to probe firing of black officer who stopped white colleagues' chokehold. This is from NBCnews.com. Notice it don't jump all around. That's why some of those articles, if I use them, I have to print them up. I can't pull them up and show them live because it's jumping all around. I'm trying to read the damn thing. All right. Let's so also check out the one from ProPublica. Let me go back to this one just a second here. So in 25 years, in a 25 Blackman Malloy, back to the ProPublica article. And we'll pull this back up here. We'll be here for we'll be here for a little while longer. Because I ain't doing 2 hours tonight. Because I have to do Roland Martin's show on Friday. So I had to do Roland's show at 6 p.m. on Friday. Then I have to be back here at 11 p.m. to do my show. So we're going to wrap this up here. I got to do 2 shows on Friday. So 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm a panelist each Friday. So Friday's like a really busy day for me. So yeah, we're going to get out of here soon. As much as I love y'all. Gotta go. All right. Okay, so the 2001 case with Blackman Malloy, Capitol Hill police officer for 25 years. The 2001 case, which started with more than 250 plaintiffs, remains pending. The 2001 case, which started with more than 250 plaintiffs, remains pending. As recently as 2016, an African-American female officer filed a racial discrimination complaint against the department. Quote, nothing ever really was resolved. Okay, now just 2020, this is a 2001 case. That's 20 years ago. The 2001 case, which started with more than 250 plaintiffs, remains pending. This case is from 20 years ago and remains pending. Quote, nothing ever really was resolved. Congress turned a blind eye to racism on the Hill. Blackman Malloy, who retired as a lieutenant in 2007, told ProPublica she is now vice president of the U.S. Capitol Black Police Association, which held 16 demonstrations protesting alleged discrimination between 2013 and 2018. Quote, we got January 6th because no one took us seriously. Let me blow this shit up here. Y'all need to listen to black people. Let me blow this. We tried to tell you, we warned you about Donald Trump. Hashtag we tried to tell you. She said, we got January 6th because no one took us seriously. Whoop, there it is. Retired Lieutenant Frank Adams sued the department in 2001. Sued the department in 2001 and again in 2012 for racial discrimination. An African-American 20-year-old veteran of the force, retired Lieutenant Frank Adams supervised mostly white officers in the patrol division. He told ProPublica he endured or witnessed racism and sexism constantly. He said that before he joined the division, there was a policy he referred to as quote unquote meet and greet, where officers were directed to stop any black person on the Hill. He also said that in another unit, he once found a cartoon on his desk of a black man, a cartoon on his desk of a black man ascending to heaven only to be greeted by a Ku Klux Klan wizard. When he complained to his superior officers, he said he was denied promotions and training opportunities and suffered other forms of retaliation. All right. Okay, so check out the rest of this article here from ProPublica. We may talk about that on our Sunday night show. We'll probably talk because on our Sunday night show we have actually 2 hours on 9:10 a.m. on Superstation WFDF in Detroit, because I started out doing Sundays, so I've been doing Sundays. April of this year, it'll be April of this year. It'll be 5 years doing the African History Network show on 9:10 a.m. And we have 2 hours on Sunday, so we'll probably talk about this some more Sundays. Let me go to this other story here. Let me see just a second here. Joanne Reed on the Readout on Wednesday, January 13th, also talked about a letter that House and Senate a letter that Democrats sent to the House and Senate Sergeant at Arms. It was more than 30 Democrats. They're calling for an investigation into suspicious U.S. Capitol tours before the deadly insurrection. Okay, these were tours that took place on January 5th as well. So I want to go to this clip also. There were a couple key articles that she talked about in this segment, and I'm going to give you those articles as well. Just a second, let me cue this. Let me cue this up. All right, and then African American business owners, post the name of your business here in the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Visit workingwithjohnray.com. Workingwithjohnray.com. John Ray has a concept called income shifting. They offer a lot of different financial services. They teach you how to build an emergency fund. They teach you how they can help you increase your take-home pay on your current job, on average $200 to $500 a month. They can teach you how to become debt-free, begin to buy assets, things that make you money while you sleep. And then they also deal with credit repair, all different types of financial service, all different types of financial services that we need. You visit workingwithjohnray.com, workingwithjohnray.com for more information. Okay, is this clip queued up? Let's see here. All right, let's go to this. This is from the Readout, Joanne Reed, MSNBC, from January 13th, 2021.
Now, the idea that any part of that deadly assault was an inside job is a chilling prospect, but there's new evidence to support it. In a bombshell allegation last night, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey said that she witnessed a number of lawmakers giving reconnaissance tours inside the Capitol a day before the attack. In a letter to the Sergeant at Arms, she and more than 30 other House Democrats are demanding answers, noting that the visitors appeared to be associated with the rally at the White House the following day. Now, that's not the only news that's raising suspicions today. The chief of staff to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley also told the Boston Globe that during the siege, she looked for the special panic buttons inside the office, but she found that every panic button in my office had been torn out. The whole unit, she said, though they could come up with no rationale as to why. And there's a public admission from the pro-Trump organizer of the Stop the Steal rally, Ali Alexander, who's now in hiding. As the Daily Beast reported yesterday, Alexander claimed in a video that he had some organizing assistance from pro-Trump congressmen Paul Gosar, Andy Biggs, and Mo Brooks. Biggs and Brooks were among a dozen Trump loyalists at a December 21st meeting with Trump at the White House, where they strategized over a last-ditch effort to overturn the election results. And joining me now is...
Okay, and let me pause right here. Yesterday, I did not get a chance to talk about this article from rawstory.com. I mentioned it, but I didn't get a chance to show it to you. This is about what Joanne Reed was talking about. This guy who organized the rally, who's in hiding right now, this genius right here. Which one is that right here? Pro-Trump activist claims GOP lawmakers helped him plan Stop the Steal protests that turned into riot. This is from January 13th, 2021, rawstory.com. And he's in hiding right now. I wonder why he's in hiding. Where are you hiding from? This is the genius right here. Right-wing activist Ali Alexander. One of the organizers of last week's Stop the Steal protest, which then spilled over into a violent assault on the U.S. Capitol, claims 3 Republican congressmen helped plan the whole thing. 3 Republican congressmen helped plan the whole thing. This is what he's claiming. Right-wing activist Ali Alexander said he and the GOP lawmakers, whom he identified as Representative Andy Biggs, Republican of Arizona, Representative Mo Brooks, Republican of Alabama, and Representative Paul A. Gosar, Republican of Arizona, planned the protest as a means to put pressure on Congress to reject the certification of Joe Biden's election win. This was reported by the Washington Post. Quote, we four schemed up of putting maximum pressure on Congress while they were voting, end quote, Ali Alexander said in a video that has since been deleted. Quote, we hoped to change the hearts and the minds of Republicans who were in that body hearing our loud roar from outside, end quote. Now, but here's the thing, player. The Electoral College votes, the votes had been certified by the Electoral College on December 14th. That process on January 6th is ceremonial. They're not going to overturn the votes from the Electoral College, which were the votes of the people that were certified by the 50 states, by the state board of canvassers in 50 states, and the results that were sent to the states boards of canvassers were certified by the counties in the states, like here in the state of Michigan. The 83 counties in the state of Michigan certified the results and sent that to the Michigan State Board of Canvassers. So those in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, they're not going to overturn the Electoral College results. That's not going to happen. And Mike Pence don't have the authority to do that. These some dumbasses. I'm just saying. So Ali Alexander, who pleaded guilty more than a decade ago to property theft and credit card abuse, organized the Stop the Steal movement aimed at overturning Trump's election loss, announced plans for the January 6th protests late last month, and he suggested the president's supporters try to disrupt the certification by storming the Capitol. You do know that certification is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. Okay. I don't know where they get these people from. So let's go back to the clip from Joy Reid, because this is what she's talking about here. And I'll give you the link to the article from Raw Story. And they cite the reporting from the Washington Post, because this is a story I saw from the Washington Post. I think we posted this one from the Washington Post. Let me pull this one up here. See, oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. And this is what happens to you when you try to invalidate African Americans' votes. This is what happens to you. All this stuff comes back on you. A Stop the Steal organizer, now banned by Twitter, said 3 GOP lawmakers helped plan his DC rally. They're going to be expelled. If this turns out to be true, they're going to be expelled from Congress. They may be prosecuted. This is from January 13th, 2021. So check this out also from the Washington Post. They're all going to be telling on each other. When all is said and done, they're all going to be telling on each other. All right, let's go back to this clip here from Joanne Reed. She has a hell of a show.
Biggs and Brooks were among a dozen Trump loyalists at a December 21st meeting with Trump at the White House, where they strategized over a last-ditch effort to overturn the election results. And joining me now is Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington State, a member of the Judiciary Committee. And Congresswoman, first, thank you for being here. Before I ask you about this bombshell potential development in the attempted coup at the Capitol, I have to first ask you how you're feeling, because I know that you are recovering from COVID.
Thank you, Joy. I am okay. I cycle in and out of my symptoms, fever, chills, headache. It sort of moved up into my head today. And I'm sorry to say that these Republicans have not only given me COVID by not wearing their masks, but they've also given it to my husband now, who just tested positive. So this is the world we live in. But I'll get through this. I know I will. And I appreciate everyone's good wishes.
That is just one of the many sickening developments. We know that Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley put out a press release as well regarding her husband. And it is monstrous, I'll just put it that way, that members of the United States Congress and the United States Senate would sicken other members and not think twice about it. It's disgusting. But let's go on to this other.
Americans every day, 3,200 Americans every day are dying of COVID. Just the tragedy across the country. And these Republicans are not showing exactly what we need to do to prevent this spread of this virus.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think those are two ways in which, in a sense, members of the Senate and the House might have been attacked by their own members, right? You have now, in addition to the fact that we now believe that some Republicans were sickening other members and other members of the Senate, you have this Ali Alexander character saying that he had assistance from House members. We have these tours that are going through the Capitol. We have, it seems to me that it is not coincidental. You do have Clyburn, Representative Clyburn, Leader Clyburn, saying he's trying to still figure out how some of these attackers knew where his sort of private office was. Are you worried that the attackers might have gotten help from members of Congress?
Yes, I think the stories that are coming out are damning. Frankly, I said this the day of the attack because it's inconceivable to me that such an attack could happen so quickly. It was planned. Remember, there were the bombs that were planted at the DNC and the RNC that happened to be timed in such a way that people were pulled off. Some of the Capitol Police were pulled off of the Capitol to go and investigate those bombs. And of course, we had none of the things we should have had to prevent the insurrectionists from getting into the Capitol. So I believe that this was very planned and everybody knew where they were going, what they were doing. And these reports of Republican members of Congress who were working with the leaders of the insurrection and the riots were proud of it. They were talking about it even the day of. So I just think this is a very difficult time with people that we cannot trust within Congress.
Okay. All right. So that was from the readout with Joanne Reed. That was from January 13th, 2021. The name of that clip, House Democrats Demand Answers on Suspicious Capitol Tours Prior to Deadly Insurrection. Okay, check that out from the readout. I want to go to this clip here also. This is only about a minute. Representative Hakeem Jeffries. Now, I posted an article from the Griot, and Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York is a nephew of one of my teachers, Dr. Linda Jeffries. Okay, so this is a brilliant brother right here. Representative Hakeem Jeffries. He's brilliant. He was interviewed January 13th also by Joanne Reed. Rep. Jeffries, most bipartisan impeachment in U.S. history, lays the foundation for Senate trial. And the Grio.com had an article about Representative Hakeem Jeffries. He talked about being inside the U.S. Capitol building in one of the halls or something like that, and the protesters are outside. And he said he and another representative, Colin Allred, I think it was, who's a former NFL player, African American. He said they were taking off their ties, taking off their suits. They said if they had to fight the protesters coming in to do them harm. He said it's gonna be what's gonna be. He said if that's what's gonna happen, that's what's gonna happen. He said they were ready to fight. Okay, let me go to this clip here.
Thank you so much for being here, Representative Jeffries. Your counterpart on the other side of the aisle, Liz Cheney, who's the House Republican caucus leader, the number 3 in the House on the Republican side, her words kind of became the rallying cry, even for Democrats who conducted this impeachment. Do you think that that signals that there might be a chance that when this case goes to trial in the Senate, even though Trump will already be gone, that perhaps he might be convicted?
It is certainly my hope that there's a real opportunity to convict this president for the incitement of a violent insurrection that he is responsible for, as Liz Cheney eloquently and courageously laid out. The fact that this is now the most bipartisan impeachment in American history, and that Donald Trump has now been impeached twice, I think lays a foundation for a real opportunity to finish the job in the United States Senate in a bipartisan way, with rules that are put in place by the new Democratic majority that allows for a full and fair presentation of evidence and documents and witnesses, which did not take place the last time.
Okay, so check that out from MSNBC, the readout. Let's go to, this article here. I posted this got thousands of likes on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. This is from the Grio.com. And this is about Representative Hakeem Jeffries and what he said they were thinking when the attack was taking place. Representative Hakeem Jeffries was prepared to fight back at Capitol. Quote, if it's on, it's on, end quote. The Brooklyn, New York congressman describes to the Grio's April Ryan the moment he decided to take off his suit jacket and tie to protect himself. Okay. If it's on, it's on. This is from January 11th, 2021. You got to read this article, watch the interview. Several stories are rising from the debris and carnage last week. Let's see here. Another one is another one of those stories is from Brooklyn, New York native U.S. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He and several others around him in the House chamber were prepared to physically fight back if they were met with the fury of the domestic terrorists. At the time, those in the House chambers could hear the crowd and understood the Senate chambers had been breached. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries recounts how he was prepared to battle the best way he knew how, while clad in his business suit and tie, working with other congressional leaders, trying to certify the most recent presidential election. And the certification of the presidential election is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. So these domestic terrorists were trying to disrupt a constitutionally mandated process, but they probably never read the U.S. Constitution. Rep. Jeffries remembers those moments, saying it was, quote, an extraordinary moment, end quote. He said, we could tell that there was some commotion and movement within the chamber, and we were in the midst of debating the so-called objections to Arizona, and its electoral college votes going to Joe Biden. Because Arizona is at the very top of the alphabet, it was one of the first swing states that they objected to that Joe Biden won. Now, Representative Jeffries described the moments leading up to the very dangerous threat potentially coming their way in the House chambers. He said, and in the midst of that debate, the speaker was expeditiously removed by the security officials. This is Representative Hakeem Jeffries. He said, and then the majority leader and majority whip were in very close proximity to where I was seated. Steny Hoyer, majority leader, majority whip, James Clyburn, in very close proximity to where I was seated on the floor of the House, and I saw their security detail come expeditiously remove them, which is probably part, of course, of the protocol that happens whenever the Capitol has been breached at that point. He went on to say there was an announcement, I believe, by the Sergeant at Arms, who said there are protesters endeavoring to penetrate the building, suggesting that we think we have it under control, but be prepared and stay ready. He went on to say shortly after that, he came back, interrupted the proceedings, and said they've reached the building. They're on the second floor. They've reached the building. They're on the second floor. They may be close. They may be as close to Statutory Hall, which is, several feet removed from the House chamber. Representative Jeffries said lawmakers were told to hit the ground and secure a gas mask under their seats. The congressman admits, quote, that's the first time in my 8 years in the United States Congress that I've ever been told to secure a gas mask, end quote. The New York congressman and some others were compelled to stand up and fight back. He and Representative Colin Allred, another African-American member of the House of Representatives, prepared themselves for the worst case scenario. This is Colin Allred also here. That picture's from January 2019. That's Colin Allred next to Representative Hakeem Jeffries. Representative Jeffries said, Allred is a former civil rights lawyer who worked for the Obama administration, but before that was a linebacker for the Tennessee Titans, played in the NFL for 5 years, and before that grew up on our side of the tracks. So Colin was sitting behind me. I knew I was in a good situation because Colin had my back. He said, if they reached it, he said, Representative Hakeem Jeffries said that Colin Allred said to him, if they reach this chamber, I'm not hiding. The congressmen in that area of the chambers started taking off their jackets. Quote, I took my jacket off and my tie because I said, you know what? If it's on, it's on. We're not going to be overrun by these seditious Trump supporters. And it's not going to be, and it's just going to be what it's going to be, end quote. Hakeem Jeffries recalled. He added, quote, we could hear banging on the door. There were a handful of security officers who were positioning themselves by the doors. They were attempting to be breached, but they could have easily been overrun by the mob. We had no idea the volume at that point, end quote. So Representative Jeffries said he meant business and intended to fight for his life, and that of the others barricaded in the House chambers, saying, quote, I'll put it like this. I knew that if I had a better shot, I knew that I had a better shot if I took my slim fit jacket off and whatever might have gone down. Okay. So check out this article here from thegrio.com. This is why African American media is so important. The Grio is owned by Byron Allen, African American owned and operated. Rep. Hakeem Jeffries was prepared to fight back at Capitol. If it's on, it's on. All right. All right. So that's from the Grio. And let me see. We're going to squeeze in one more here because I only got about 5 minutes left of energy. Okay. Right. And I've got to do 2 shows tomorrow. and I had to do 2 hours on Roland's show, and then an hour and a half, or 2 hours on my show. Let's see here. What was the last story I wanted to, let me see. All this other stuff we're going to get to tomorrow night. Let's go to this next story here. Flint, Michigan. We'll just touch on that for a minute. We'll talk about more dealing with Flint, Michigan on Friday, probably. Dozens of FBI terrorists watch list in D.C. on day of riots. Dozens on FBI terrorist watch list in D.C. on day of riots. So there was this big story from the Washington Post today. And the name of that story, dozens of people on FBI terrorist watch list came to D.C. the day of Capitol riot. And they talked about this on MSNBC. And we're going to go to that clip. Let me pull that up, cue that up here. This was another article that I posted today from the Washington Post. And I read articles from the Washington Post and New York Times every day. Dozens of people on a terrorist watch list were in Washington for pro-Trump events January 6th, a day that ended in a chaotic crime rampage when a violent mob stormed the U.S. Capitol. The majority of the watch list, the majority of the watch listed individuals in Washington that day are suspected white supremacists whose past conduct so alarmed investigators that their names had been previously entered into the National Terrorist Screening Database, or TSDB, the National Terrorist Screening Database, a massive set of names flagged as potential security risks. These people said, and this is people familiar with evidence gathered in the FBI investigation. The watch list is larger and separate from the no-fly list. This watch list, this terrorist screening database, okay, is larger and separate from the no-fly list the government maintains to prevent terrorism suspects from boarding airplanes, and those listed are not automatically barred from any public or commercial spaces, current and former officials said. Okay, I want to go to this clip here from MSNBC. They talked about this. Dozens of FBI terrorist watch lists, dozens on FBI terrorist watch lists in D.C. on day of riots. And Ayman Mohadeen is speaking with Devlin Barrett, who is a national security and law enforcement reporter for the Washington Post. Devlin Barrett is in the byline of this article here that I just shared an excerpt with from the Washington Post. He was one of the writers of this article. Let's go to this clip.
Sources telling the Washington Post that dozens of people on the FBI terrorist watch list came to D.C. on the day of the riot inside the U.S. Capitol. We should note that the terrorist watch list is not the same as that no-fly list. Joining us now is one of the reporters who broke this story, Washington Post national security and law enforcement reporter Devlin Barrett. Devlin, great to have you with us. So tell us a little bit more about who some of these people are and how it appears that they were able to actually congregate in the same place. What have you learned?
Well, the terror watch list isn't actually designed to watch these folks at all times, or even much of the time. It's really about collecting data points about people for whom investigators have a concern that they could engage in violence at some point. And in this case, we're told most of these folks who are on the watch list who came to DC for these Trump events were suspected white supremacists. And so the government collects this information because they're very interested in when these folks travel. And that's generally the type of information that gets collected. So it's not that the system isn't really designed to sort of, for the folks on this list, keep them from traveling at all. It's designed to sort of let the government know where they are and when. And it worked in that sense, but they didn't they didn't act particularly aggressively on that information.
Yes, I was just going to ask you to elaborate a little bit about that, which is if they are on this terror watch list and they also have a separate no-fly list, was there, if you look at a Venn diagram, was there any part in the middle where some of these individuals from your reporting, have you learned if any of them traveled through, let's say, flying where they could have potentially been identified or picked up, or did they drive into D.C.?
Sure, but there's nothing in the system that's supposed to prevent them from traveling.
Right.
For folks on this terror watch list. Look, there's a bigger debate and conversation going on inside federal law enforcement about whether they need to be more aggressive in investigating and interacting with suspected white supremacists. One of the groups that we're told the FBI is looking at very, very hard right now is the Proud Boys, because they're concerned that some of those people may have played an organizing or participating role in violence. But we're still in the early days of the investigation, so they don't have a real answer to that question yet.
Have you had a chance to get any comment or response from the FBI? Has the FBI had anything to say about this reporting?
So the FBI hasn't commented. We're told by one U.S. official that, look, that they can't talk about who's on the terror watch list. It's a secret list, and it's secret for both security reasons and reasons of people's privacy, which is fair. But if you think back to the sort of the post 9/11 era when these lists were created and developed, there are limits to what they can do. And I think there's always a question of, does all this data collection end with better results? And obviously, I think that's a question that law enforcement officials are asking themselves now as they pursue all these cases.
And so to that point, looking ahead, inauguration a few days away, what could be the potential impact of this revelation as the country braces itself? And as we continue to hear more warnings from law enforcement officials all across the country?
Well, look, first of all, DC is going to have an incredible amount of security, probably more security than an inauguration has ever had, which is saying something. There's a lot of concern that they can't cover every state capital the way they can cover Washington, DC. And they don't have necessarily perfect information about, okay, people are talking online about conducting attacks. Where is that going to happen? When and how? Those are the unknowns here that scare and worry officials. But what's good is because of what happened last week, everyone's on high alert. Everyone's trying to figure out everything they can do to make these state houses and the nation's capital secure.
Okay, so that was from MSNBC. Dozens on FBI terrorist watch lists in DC on day of riots. Okay. All right. Let's see. Very quickly here, Flint, Michigan. Here are the charges 9 former Michigan public officials are facing in the Flint Water Crisis. So 9 people have been charged. 9 former WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit reported this Thursday, January 14th. 9 former public officials have been indicted on a total of 42 counts related to the Flint Water Crisis. The following defendants were charged by Michigan Solicitor General Hamoud and Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy as part of the criminal investigation into the Flint Water Crisis. They include Gerard Agin, former Director of Communications and former Chief of Staff, Executive Office of Governor Snyder. 1 count of perjury, a 15-year felony. When we look at Pretty Ricky, Rick Snyder, let me see, let's scroll down here. Let's see if we can find Rick Snyder. Just see. Okay, Rick Snyder, former governor, 2 counts of willful neglect of duty, each a 1-year misdemeanor and or $1,000 fine. I think we talked about that on yesterday's show because that came out yesterday. The charges against him. The other charges came out from these other people. Basically, came out today. Let's see. Let's go to this reporting from Channel 7 News in Detroit. Let's cue this clip up here. So this is a step in the right direction. Darrell Early, former City of Flint emergency manager, 3 counts of misconduct in office, each a 5-year felony and a $10,000 fine. Darnell Early. Okay. Darnell Early is African American.
We begin tonight with exclusive video of former Governor Rick Snyder on the other side of the law.
He's one of 9 former state and city officials just indicted in the Flint Water Crisis, each one facing a collection of these felony charges that could carry jail time and significant fines.
So where does the former governor's case go from here? 7 Action News reporter Jim Kirchner explains.
Former governor's life changed dramatically when he walked into this jail facing these 2 criminal charges.
There are no velvet ropes in our criminal justice system. Nobody, no matter how powerful or well-connected, is above accountability when they commit a crime.
Take a look at surveillance video of the former governor going through the process like anyone else busted for a crime, fingerprinted, and his mugshot taken. This multimillionaire non-politician came out of nowhere with law and accounting degrees 10 years ago to run for governor with the slogan that sold.
It's time for a nerd.
The water crisis happened in Snyder's second term with lead poisoning and Legionnaires' deaths from a switch in the water supply to the Flint River, while under Snyder's state financial takeover of Flint. But unlike his aides who are charged with serious felonies, perjury, extortion, involuntary manslaughter, Snyder is charged with 2 misdemeanors, willful neglect of duty, up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine. Snyder could avoid the dirty laundry playing out in court, plead guilty, or take a plea deal with prosecutors. Snyder walking out today not commenting. The special prosecutor telling me it's too early to talk strategy.
Hey, Jim, I think you know me well enough to know by now that it doesn't matter how high profile you are, how much money you have, what your ethnicity is, or any other process. These cases are charged just like any others that are charged out of my office are charged whether we can prove the cases beyond a reasonable doubt.
You know, as an elected official myself and anybody who serves the people, that we can never forget the rules still apply.
Former governor is back in court up here in Flint on January the 19th on this case. It's being watched around the world, and he is the first Michigan governor to be charged with crimes in office in all of Michigan's 184 years of history. In Flint, Jim Kirchner, 7 Action News.
Okay, so that was the woman you heard talking. That was Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy talking about the case and saying we only bring, charges if we think we can, prove the case or what have you. All right, check this out from WXYZ.com, Channel 7 News here in Detroit. Here are the charges 9 former Michigan public officials are facing in the Flint water crisis. Okay. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm glad they're bringing these charges. And what happened was the new attorney general we have, Dana Nessel, who was voted into office in 2018, those 2018 midterm elections, she inherited the case from the previous attorney general. She saw numerous problems with the case and the evidence. So she scrapped the case, started from ground zero, started the case all over, started the investigation all over, dismissed, dropped the charges against previous people who had been charged to build the case from the ground up. And this is the result of it. All right. Very quickly, birthday celebrations. Carl Weathers, Action Jackson, and Apollo Creed. Carl Weathers turned 73 today, January 4. He's born January 14th, 1948. Actor and former professional American football player. Several of his best-known roles are Apollo Creed in the Rocky films, Action Jackson, and also George Dillon in the movie Predator. Okay. Then we have, as a football player, Carl Weathers played from 1970 to 1971 for the Oakland Raiders in the NFL, and from 1971 to 1973 for the BC Lions of the Canadian Football League. That's information courtesy of Soul TV. Also won James Todd Smith, James Todd Smith, also known as LL Cool J. LL Cool J. Today's his birthday as well. So he's probably licking his lips somewhere. LL Cool J. So he turns 53 years old. So I remember when LL came out when he was 16. I remember LL Cool J and Crush Groove, all this stuff, you know, because he's 3 years older than me. I turned 50 this year. I'll be 50 June 7th, right? And you know, when I first heard about LL Cool J, I think I was like 14, 15 years old. We never thought about rappers being like 50 years old. You know, I saw Diddy a few months ago, and he had like a gray beard and things like this. We never thought about gray-haired rappers. You know, when we were 14, 15, 16 years old, we listened to Run DMC, we listened to LL Cool J, we watching Crush Groove, all this stuff. We never thought about like 50, 60-year-old rappers and rappers with gray hair and rappers having heart surgery or stuff like that, you know. But LL Cool J, hip-hop recording artist, record producer, actor, author, and entrepreneur from Queens, New York. He is known for such hip-hop hits as Going Back to Cali, I'm Bad, The Booming System, Rock the Bells, Mama Said Knock You Out, as well as romantic ballads such as Doing It, I Need Love, All I Have, Around the Way Girl, and Hey Lover. That's from National R&B Music Society. Then also Vanetta McGee from the Blaxploitation movies. Remembering Vanetta McGee, she was born in 1945, January 14th, 1945. She passed away July 9th, 2010. Vanetta Lawrence McGee she was an actress. She's best known for her roles during the 1970s, which included blaxploitation films such as Hammer, not to be confused with MC Hammer. This is Hammer, starring Hammer was that Fred Williamson or Jim Brown? I get them mixed up. Which one was that? I think Hammer was Fred Williamson. Yeah, Fred Williamson, Hammer. I've seen all those movies. Yeah, Fred Williamson was Hammer. Such films as Hammer, Melinda, Blackula, Shaft in Africa, Detroit 9000, and 1974's Thomasine and Bushrod, alongside her then boyfriend, Max Julian. Okay, Max Julian, the Mac. She was a regular on the 1987 Universal Television situation comedy Bustin' Loose, starring as Mimi Shaw for its only lasted one season. So this is also courtesy National R&B Music Society, Inc. So she passed away July 9th, 2010, born January 14th, 1945. So also happy birthday to Vanetta McGee. All right. And then also Amari Hardwick, his birthday was a couple of days ago. I missed it. We posted about this as well. I missed it on the day of his birth. Actor, you know, from Power, and actor Amari Hardwick. Let me pull this up here because I kind of missed that. Before he turns 47 years old, born January 9th, 1974, Amari Lateef Hardwick is an American actor, poet, rapper, and podcaster, best known for his starring roles as James Ghost St. Patrick in the series Power on Star. Now, I had never watched Stars. I never watched Power. I think I've seen 20 minutes of Power. I don't watch stuff. I watch very few scripted series where I got to tune in each week, see what happened, all this stuff. I do watch House of Pain. I like House of Pain. But a lot of this stuff, Power, all this stuff, drugs and violence and stuff like that. This is why I watch Empire, because we have to be more cognizant of the images of African Americans that are projected. They're projected. These images are not just seen in this country; they're projected around the world. Amari Hardwick is also known for his roles in Saved and Dark Blue, in Spike Lee's Miracle at St. Anna in 2008, the A-Team movie 2010, Kick-Ass 2010, Tyler Perry's For Colored Girls in 2010. I ain't see For Colored Girls. and as Andre in BET Network's Being Mary Jane. I used to watch Being Mary Jane some. It was kind of complexing. So many people were screwed up. It's like that. You know that show on Stars. Was it Survivor's Remorse? Was that the show Survivor? Oh, that was a screwed up ass show. Those people. Oh my God. Survivor's Remorse. That was everybody on that show was screwed up. Tashina Arnold's character was gang raped when she was, I don't know, 16 and had one of her children. I think that was when she had her daughter who turned out to be a lesbian and didn't know who her daddy was and all this. What the hell is this? This is like a Tyler Perry movie gone bad. I mean, this is like a Tyler Perry movie on steroids. It's like every week. What is this? It's just a screwed up show. Oh my God. All right. That's enough reading for today. Hey, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. And then also through PayPal. PayPal.me/the AHN Show. PayPal.me/the AHN Show. And at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So this helps us keep broadcasting 6 days a week, do the research, stay on the air, pay the bills, etc. Also, if you want to advertise with the African History Network, email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And when your commercial airs when we do the rebroadcast of these shows, and we rebroadcast them usually throughout the day. And we create a 30-second and 60-second commercial for you, or you can send us one. And it'll re-air when we rebroadcast these shows on our social media platforms. And then also on the audio podcast of our shows. We're on 9 different audio podcast platforms. We're on iHeartRadio, Castbox, FM Player, TuneIn, iTunes. So people hear a commercial in the audio podcast of the shows as well. All right, I'll be on Roland Martin Unfiltered Friday. He's on 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Follow Roland on his Facebook fan page, Roland Martin on Facebook, and Roland Martin on YouTube. I'm a panelist each Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and then we'll be back here 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the African History Network show. And then Sundays, we're on 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for, we're on 2 hours on Sundays. Remember, right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.